The Oregon Ducks are the number one team in the country, and they're in first place in the Big Ten. That means they have a big target on their back, and that starts with a huge game this weekend against a ranked Illinois team that has already beaten three other ranked teams. Will it be four? Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Shemon, coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So Oregon's number one, target on the back. Everybody's gunning for him, starting with Illinois. IU's quarterback has surgery. How long will he be out during their magical season? And we'll have our power rankings, see where your favorite team ranks on our list here at the end of our podcast. But for now that the Oregon Ducks are ranked number one in college football, they're the hunted, not the hunting anymore. And they'll have a pretty tough assignment this week when they take on another ranked team, and that would be the 20th ranked Fighting Illini from Illinois. They come into Autzen Stadium, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific, kickoff on CBS. In fact, it'll be the fourth straight game that the Ducks will be isolated in a marquee, nationally televised slot. It's pretty cool. A lot of great attention. And with another one coming next week when they travel to Ann Arbor to take on the Michigan Wolverines. All this national attention is well-deserved, and Oregon is a fun football team to watch. Someone else who has noticed the Ducks is Coach Brett Bielema of Illinois. And while all the national attention seems to gravitate toward Oregon and Penn State and Ohio State, and now Indiana with their rise, and additional attention going to marquee programs like Michigan and USC because of their struggles, Illinois has put together an impressive low-key 6-1 record. Of course, they were in the national spotlight last week with their cool new throwback uniforms and taking on the Michigan Wolverines. But 6-1, this is a good football team with a very good resume. In fact, they're the only team in the Big Ten with wins against three ranked opponents thus far. It started with a win over Kansas. They were ranked 19th at the time. The most impressive win was rolling into Nebraska on a crazy Friday night, coming away with an overtime win there. The Huskers were ranked at the time then. And then the following week, they got into a dogfight with Penn State at Beaver Stadium. They lost that game 21-7. It's a pretty close game throughout in a very hostile environment. Now, the following game seemed like a bit of an anomaly because Illinois let a bad Purdue team hang with them. So I'm not saying Illinois is a perfect team by any stretch. Purdue hung around, managed to get that into a shootout, into overtime. Illinois won 50-49 against Purdue. Again, they're a bad football team. But a win is a win, right? You're going to have some of those throughout the season. Last week, Illinois' defense was pretty stifling in a 21-7 win against Michigan. And yes, Michigan's offensive struggles are duly noted here on this podcast. But overall, Brett Bielema's team, they played at Nebraska and Penn State. Crazy loud atmospheres. They should be able to handle the loud noise at Autzen Stadium this weekend. Maybe a little better than most. Still going to be tough. Still going to be loud. Still going to be crazy. But they've got a little bit of experience here doing that this year. So comes down to the football game. All we're trying to convey here is it's going to be a formidable opponent for the number one ranked Oregon Ducks and vice versa. Dan Lanning's Ducks, they're on a roll. They showed no letdown whatsoever or any lethargy following their big emotional win against Ohio State a couple of weeks ago. And they hit the road, short week, Friday night game at Purdue. And the Ducks won 35-0. Now, we could point out that the Ducks beat Purdue 35-0, and the week before, Illinois barely beat them 50-49. And maybe that's the roadmap to how much space is between what Oregon is and what Illinois is. Maybe not. We'll find out. But the Ducks got that shutout, their first road shutout in 30 years. Each week, Oregon, they just seem to be getting better and better, frankly. And again, they are fun to watch. And again, getting better and better each and every week is a staple for a well-coached team that has the highest aspirations. And they have the highest aspirations in college football. But when Lanning was asked about reacting to being the number one team in the country since they moved up this week with their win, and of course with Texas's loss to Georgia, Oregon previously number 2 moves into the number 1 spot. And in fact, it's the first time Oregon has been number 1 since 2012. Coach Lanning, what do you think about it? He said, who cares? Who cares? That was his response. I get what he's doing here. He's like focusing. There's still more work to do. There's still a half a season to go. We're just at the halfway point. I get it. He didn't want to hear any of the hype or the rat poison, like Nick Saban used to call it, all the hype in the media. Lanning has noticed Illinois' improvement as well, and he knows, like the Ducks, Illinois has a quarterback in Luke Altmaier who takes care of the football. He sees how Illinois' defense is a swarming defense, causes a lot of interceptions and a lot of fumbles. This is a good Illinois football team. Can't stress that enough. Now, not to look ahead, though, I wonder if this might be the hardest game on Oregon's schedule moving forward. They got Ohio State out of the way. They've got this game against a ranked Illinois team. And next week's game at Michigan, well, it'll be an exciting matchup because it's at Michigan, and whoever plays in the big house always garners a lot of attention. It'll be a big deal. But we all know Michigan isn't Michigan right now. The Ducks then invite Maryland to Autzen Stadium in a cross-country trip. And Oregon should be heavily favored in that game, I think. Then there's the trip to Camp Randall, face Wisconsin, and then the home finale against Washington. Admittedly, that Washington game, it's no gimme by any stretch. Anything can happen with that rivalry. And again, we're not certain, but it is a winnable game. It is a winnable game, especially be the end of the season, everything that'll be on the line. Trying to lock up a Big Ten championship game appearance, all that stuff. Believe me, the Ducks will be motivated for that game. So I think if the Ducks get past Illinois this weekend, and I think they will, although I think Illinois will put up a pretty good fight, then the sky's the limit at that point. Cruise control. So this is the last, I think, big, tough weekend for Oregon. Any comments? Love to hear from you guys. Oregon fans, Illinois fans, Big Ten fans. Hit me up on the comments on Twitter or X at Talk Big Ten. Don't forget our website, talkbig10.com, where all of our podcasts are. And also you can, there's a link there for your convenience. If you want to go ahead and buy some of your favorite teams' merchandise, hats, shirts, t-shirts, and all that stuff, it is all right there. And then the comments on YouTube. I love it when you guys go back and forth. Just drop a little comment there on YouTube. In the meantime, I got a programming note for you right here. There's a couple, we like to go live after a key game on Saturday. Get a great response from you guys on that. We're going to do it again. There are 2 7:30 games in the Big Ten this weekend. Penn State 6-0 coming off a bye, taking on Wisconsin at Camp Randall at night. Should be an awesome atmosphere. 7:30 Eastern. That's on NBC. And then the rivalry, Michigan State and Michigan, also 7:30 Eastern. That'll be on the Big Ten Network. When those games end, we will jump on live around 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific. I haven't decided yet if we'll wait till the first one's over or if we'll jump on and wait for both of them to be over. We'll kind of see how they play out. But plan on us being on live around 11 o'clock. We'll do that Eastern Saturday night to talk about all the games in the Big Ten. I'll give you my immediate reaction to everything, and I'll get your immediate comments as well, because we do live comments when we go live like that. It'll be pretty cool. So we'll do all that coming up. And also, speaking of the Michigan State game, we will preview that tomorrow on tomorrow's Lockdown Big Ten podcast, our regular podcast. So that's what's coming up, among a few other things. If you could, I always ask, if you don't mind, could you subscribe? Just click the subscribe button. It's free. It doesn't require any personal information. And you're in with me every day, Lockdown Big Ten. So if you could subscribe and follow and share Lockdown Big Ten, wherever you get your podcast, that way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And again, don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. So Indiana is 7-0, and their starting quarterback is out. He's injured. He had surgery. How long is he going to be out moving forward? We'll talk about that. Plus, we'll have our power rankings. All that is coming up right here in just 1 minute on Locked On Big Ten. If you own a small business or you run a small office and you're in charge of hiring people, LinkedIn Jobs, you need to be aware of them because we know how turnover is and we know how difficult it is to go ahead and replace people because now you got to look for that in addition to doing your own job and all the other things you got to concentrate on. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. And LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So you're not really looking, but you can find them. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Thank you very much. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And then our website. Don't forget to peruse that, talkbig10.com. All right, good news, bad news for Indiana fans. Here's the deal. The bad news is starting quarterback Kurtis Rourke underwent surgery on his injured thumb that he banged up in Saturday's game against Nebraska. Got the surgery on Monday. The good news is he had surgery to fix his thumb, and the prognosis is that his timeline for return has improved. Earlier this week, it was announced that he'll be out for this week's sold-out game against Washington as the Hoosiers look to go 8-0. He was listed as doubtful, but the reality is there's optimism that he could be back the following week versus Michigan State on November 2nd. Great. The 2 games after that, the Hoosiers are hosting Michigan. That's a big one. And then off to Ohio State. And then the season finale against Purdue. So the Indiana faithful are hoping the Hoosiers are going to be 10-0 going into that Ohio State game and then see what happens. Meanwhile, Taven Jackson, who came in the second half against Nebraska, played pretty well in that he'll be the likely starter this Saturday against Washington, another nationally televised game, all that. He's a holdover from the Tom Allen regime, by the way. So Rourke, if you're not on board yet with what's going on with him, he's an Ohio transfer. Since coming to Indiana, he has completed 75% of his passes. He's thrown 15 touchdowns. Only 3 interceptions on a team that is the number 1 scoring offense in the country at 49 points per game. The Hoosiers are 5th in the country on total offense with 513 yards per game and 5th in third down conversions at 54%. This offense is on a roll. It's almost unstoppable. All this unusual success has Rourke receiving some Heisman talk around the country. That's why this injury is not at a very good time. But then again, when is a good time? Meanwhile, in Michigan coach Sharon Moore not going to commit to a starting quarterback for this week's game against Michigan State. The Wolverines did get some good news, though, on the recruiting front. 4-star tackle Andrew Babalola. He's the country's top uncommitted offensive lineman for the class of 2025. He has announced he's going to go to Michigan. Stanford, Auburn, Missouri, Oklahoma were all on a short list. He's 6'6", 270 pounds. Coaches just love his frame. He's going to fill out and be awesome. He's from Overland Park, Kansas. And so he's committed. He's just hadn't made up his mind yet, hadn't made an announcement yet. That's why it's kind of lingering. So that'll be good news for Michigan. And as they put their class of 2025 together, we're going to look a closer look at this Michigan State game on Saturday in tomorrow's Lockdown podcast. Just want to remind you one more time on all that. Hey, it is time to give some kudos out to the players of the week around the Big Ten. First of all, Offensive Player of the Week, Ethan Garbers, UCLA. He led UCLA to their first ever Big Ten win on Saturday against Rutgers. It was his best statistical performance as a Bruin, posting career highs of 383 yards and 4 touchdowns while recording his 5th highest completion percentage as a Bruin by anybody since 1980 at 84%. He also added, in addition to his 4 passing touchdowns, 49-yard rushing touchdown. So 5 touchdowns on the day, and recorded the longest pass of his career at 67-yard touchdown pass to Keegan Jones. With all those stats, it was a slam dunk. Ethan Garbers, UCLA, Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. Congratulations to him. How about the Defensive Player of the Week? Gabe Jacobson, Illinois, linebacker, recorded a career-high 13 tackles, including 6 solo, 2.5 sacks, and a forced fumble in the Illini's 21-7 win over then 24th-ranked Michigan. Knocked them out of the top 25. Helped the Illini hold Michigan to its fewest points in 10 years with a 7-point game, and his 2.5 sacks marked a new career high. The most sacks by anyone in the Big Ten in a conference game this season, by a player this season. Special Teams Player of the Week. This is a no-brainer. Jonathan Kim, Michigan State, their kicker. He's a grad student, and he made kicks on 6 of 7 field goals against Iowa, including 4 from 40 or more yards out in the 32-20 win. 6 field goals that he made. That ties a Big Ten record. That matches Jake Moody. Remember him from Michigan, who made 6 field goals against Indiana in 2018. And with 20 points on Saturday, Kim also set a top mark in modern-day Big Ten history by a kicker. Moody, again, had the old record at 19 in that win over Indiana. And finally, our Big Ten Freshman of the Week, Nick Marsh, Michigan State, wide receiver out of Detroit River Rouge, 113 receiving yards, tied a season high with 8 catches to help Michigan State beat Iowa. And that was at Spartan Stadium. They're very excited. So something to look forward to. This guy's starting to emerge. His last catch went for 11 yards to the 1-yard line to set up Michigan State's final touchdown of the game with 2 minutes to go. And it marked his second time this year with at least 100 yards. And by the way, he was also Michigan State's last freshman of the week. Did it in September. So this is, you look at Jonathan Smith's team that he's putting together with Aiden Childs and company. Things clicking with Marsh. Now you got something. You got a little combination there on offense and playing better football the last couple of weeks, just in time for that Michigan game this weekend. So we'll have our pigskin picks on Friday's podcast. We'll tell you who we think is going to win that game. That's all coming up in just a little bit. Speaking of the Big Ten, and that's what we do, we're going to take a look at our power rankings. This is what we do in the middle of the week. If you're new, at the end of each podcast, we have a feature that we do each and every day, the same every week. Monday is always my Big Ten top 10 observations from the weekend. Tuesdays are Tuesday tweets. Wednesdays, we do our power rankings. Thursday, we look ahead to the weekend scheduling on the Big Ten Network with Big Ten Classics and live action. And Friday, as I mentioned, pigskin picks. So we'll see where your favorite team ranks next in our Big Ten Power Rankings. That's coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. FanDuel makes watching games even more fun than they already are. FanDuel, of course, NFL fans, you pay attention. You can start getting into this NFL season here with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, or you check out the latest stats, you could view live play-by-play. You can all do it on the same page where you place your bets. So you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. It's all at FanDuel.com. Gave you a winner last Thursday night for Thursday Night Football. How about this week? Thursday, it's the Vikings at the Rams. Vikings are 3-point favorites on the road. Vikings coming off a gut punch loss to the Detroit Lions last week. The Rams battling injuries. By the way, I like Minnesota in this one -3, and I like the over a lot at 46.5 points. You can make bets like that right there at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Go to FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com. All right, it's time now to take a look at our power rankings as we see them, the standings as we see it. So we'll put this on screen. If you're on audio only, we'll describe it in detail. Lots of you on audio lately. Man, our audio numbers are through the roof lately. Thank you very much for all that. All right, we'll go full screen here and check this out. Our power rankings as we see them. It's a no-brainer at number 1. Have to put the Oregon Ducks there. Number 1 team in the country. They got to be the number 1 team in the Big Ten, right? I had Penn State and Ohio State at 2 and 3, respectively. I know you Buckeye fans want to see Ohio State at number 2. This is the way I had it going into last week, and both teams had a bye, so nothing's changed. So I'm going to keep it that way. Penn State with the game against Wisconsin at Camp Randall, and Ohio State taking on Nebraska, big noon on Fox. So those will be some good games. So Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, 1, 2, 3. I've got Indiana at number 4. As hot as they are, undefeated, they're trying to go 8-0 against Washington. Illinois, Indiana in the national rankings is ranked 13th, Illinois at 20th. You could make an argument to put Illinois ahead of Indiana if it weren't for the national rankings because they have 3 wins against ranked teams. Illinois does. That's a pretty nice resume. Got Minnesota at number 6. Still basking in that glory for them a couple of weeks ago against USC. Maryland, same thing. Basking in the glory with a late win against USC. Got those 2 teams at 6 and 7 here. Nebraska falls to 8. They could fall further. I mean, they were really beaten badly by Indiana, but look, they're still a good team. 5 wins going into that Indiana game. I still have a lot of respect for them, as I do for Iowa, even though I was a little surprised. Iowa lost to Michigan State this weekend at number 9. Washington coming out at number 10. Now, I know we're going to get in a little bit of controversy here as we look at the best of the rest. I'll get to that in a minute. Michigan falls to number 11. USC falls to number 12. And then I have Wisconsin at number 13. Here's where the controversy. I got Michigan at 14. Let me go back to the other list. We got Iowa at number 9. You go, wait a minute. Michigan State beat Iowa. I know. But I had Iowa a few notches higher, and I had Michigan State a lot lower. I couldn't make Michigan State jump 10 spaces. They got to earn their way in a little bit more, but maybe soon. Trending in the right direction, Michigan State. UCLA, I bumped them out of the basement after their first win in conference play against Rutgers. Again, Ethan Garbers, a phenomenal effort this past weekend. Rutgers is better than a 16th ranked team in the Big Ten. They started up 4-0. They're 4-3. They've been giving up a lot of points lately. They're better than this. They got to tighten it up. I'm not sure what's going on exactly over there. Northwestern 17, and then just Purdue. I mean, we could give Purdue a little bit of credit that, they scored 49 on Illinois, but they still lost. Things are not going well in West Lafayette, sitting at the bottom of the rankings there at number 18. So there you have it. Those are our Big Ten power rankings. We do it each and every Wednesday in the middle of the week. And if you agree or disagree or think somebody got slighted or, have a better idea, let me know. I love the comments. There are many ways for you to reach out to this podcast, as you know, Twitter, X, Talk Big Ten. Don't forget, we have the YouTube. You guys will watch on video on YouTube. Get the comments going. The more you comment on there, the more it gets our podcast going. It really helps out. And also invite you to subscribe to Locked On Big Ten right now before you go. If you do a quick subscribe, just click the button. That's all. It's no big deal. It's free. And then we'll be in the loop together with all the Big Ten stuff as we put out these podcasts each and every morning. So subscribe and follow and share this podcast right now, if you don't mind, on your favorite podcast app. And you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Again, tomorrow, looking ahead to the weekend still. And we're going to look into that Michigan game. Can Michigan State do it this year? We're going to break it down. Michigan looks vulnerable. We'll have all that coming up tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in today. Can't wait to talk to you tomorrow. I'm Craig Shemon for Locked On Big Ten.